Welcome to Sports Talk with L-Beasley. It is Tuesday afternoon here for me in Detroit, Michigan, and I hope that you're having a good Tuesday. As you can see, that I'm bringing a little bit of a different view, different little angle point from a camera perspective, so be sure to let me know if you like it or not. My fans and supporters, you guys are used to me being a little bit more up and close. Personal with the camera, so just let me know, if you like this or not. If you don't, I'm not saying I'm gonna change it. If you don't, I'm not saying I'm gonna, keep it the same. I'm just saying I want to hear your viewpoints and hear if you like it or not. If you like me be a little bit more up close and personal, or if you like me being more in the, in the shot that I'm in now. So be sure to let me know that. I said I hope you all are having a good Tuesday. I know I'm having a good Tuesday. Went to the gym, did a little hooping, had a pretty good time. So I enjoyed myself. But just moving on. Plenty of good stuff to talk about on today's show. Starting off with Monday night football game that happened last night between the New York Giants and the Washington Redskins, and this was definitely not a disappointing game. It went down to the wire. Myself personally, I didn't turn the channel, mainly just because, it was close the entire game. From start to finish, it was close. It was never a big lead that lasted. So, like I said, this was definitely a game to watch. If you missed it, I'm sorry, but I'm going to do my best to fill you in. Basically, the Redskins ended up beating the Giants 17-16, and in my opinion, for the New York Giants, and I said this all night on Twitter, my whole thing with this whole situation with the New York Giants was non-execution offensively. And if you watched the game, you know what I'm talking about. If you didn't, I'm about to basically tell you. The Giants were great at getting down the field. They were. They didn't have a problem doing that. Whether they started off on the 20, the 25, the 30, they didn't have a problem getting down the field. They did not. They were able to get down the field fine. Just fine. Their problem was they couldn't get in the end zone once they got downfield. It would seem like once they got past midfield, they tend to struggle. They get, like I said, get around the 45, they get around the 40, the 35. That's when it seemed like they started to struggle. In my opinion, it seemed like that's when they started to struggle, and they kept settling for field goals. And some of it was lack of execution, and some of it was good defense by Washington, and then some of it was just stupid stuff by the New York Giants, like penalties, like holding. Holding. I think at one point it was an intentional grounding call. It was really just a lack of execution by New York Giants. New York Giants should have won this game. The defense did a good job of not letting Washington score any touchdowns. They only allowed Washington to score 2 touchdowns, and they really did a good job of, like I said, unfortunately they collapsed in the fourth quarter. But like I said, they stopped. Let's see, Washington scored in the first quarter, and I think they got a field goal in the second quarter. After that, Washington couldn't score. Washington was not able to score. New York Giants defense did a good job of keeping this offense at bay, which we know is not easy with RG3 at quarterback. They did a pretty good job of this. The problem was, just like I said, this game should have been blown out the water. I believe New York Giants attempted 3 field goals in the first half that should have been touchdowns. And when I say field goals, I'm not talking 50 yards. I'm not talking 49 yards. I'm talking 39 yards. I'm talking 33 yards, 40 yards. 35 yards. These are field goals that were makeable. Not field goals. These are, this is a place where you should be getting into the end zone. I'm sorry. You should be getting a touchdown. I really didn't understand this with the Giants. Anybody who knows me, if you watch my show, I always constantly say this about the Giants, and I always refer to this game in particular, is when they played the Carolina Panthers. I really noticed that. I'll never forget. I watched them play Carolina Panthers, and they did the exact same thing. But unfortunately, or fortunately for them, I should say, and unfortunately for, Carolina, unfortunately for Carolina, they couldn't capitalize and get the win like Washington was able to do. But I noticed it then. That's been the problem with New York. Like I said, they can get down the field, but then they can't get in the end zone. And that's what I noticed in this game, and that's exactly why Washington was able to stay close, and RG3 just did the rest at the end, helping to lead his offense, and get him in the end zone for a clutch winning touchdown. But at the end of the day, it really just came down to non-execution. I'm going to say it again, non-execution. And you may look at the stats and say, non-execution, really? Eli Manning threw for 280 yards. Bradshaw rushed for 103 yards. I think Cruz had over 104 yards receiving. How is that underachieving? Bennett nearly had 100 yards. They really didn't execute yet? All that great stuff that I just mentioned came in the drive, but then it was halted by a field goal, which allowed this game to stay close. To be quite honest with you, New York really should have been up at halftime, in my opinion, something like 21-27 to 10. I'm going to be honest with you, just for the main fact that they had to keep settling for field goals, they were only up 13-10. Like I said, defense did a good job of keeping this offense at bay for the most part, and New York Giants offense wasn't able to capitalize. And like I said, not to take anything away from Washington's defense, because Washington's defense, they also did a pretty good job of containing this team. They had some gaps, as all defenses do. They had some gaps and some issues, but they still did like I said, a pretty good job of also making it a little harder on Eli to make some tough throws, even though we know he can make them. Made it a little harder on them. They came up with some clutch situations on third down, but like I said, it was really just a mixture of non-execution, good defense by Washington, and last but not least, penalties on New York Giants' part. But like I said, you can't continue to do that if you're the Giants, and even the Redskins. The Redskins, New York Giants did it. Like this was a defensive game definitely from a certain point of view. Like I said, both teams did a pretty good job of keeping both offenses at bay for the most part, or at least stopping them from getting the end zone. I'll say. I mean, they could drive down the field, they just couldn't get in the end zone. But even with the Redskins, there was opportunities when Redskins had a chance to increase their lead. They didn't take advantage of it. I think it was a little actually after it was around the second quarter. They had a chance to increase their lead. They didn't take advantage of it. And this could have went a different way, in their favor as well. They could have ended up maybe making this lead a little bit bigger than what it was instead of having to score a clutch touchdown in the fourth. But nonetheless, it's still just great to see the Redskins come and rally, like I say, both defensively and offensively, and get this win against the New York Giants. Because, New York Giants are still no joke. They might be lacking execution nowadays, at times. But, it's still a team to be, reckoned with. Fletcher was great for Washington, not only just from a tackling standpoint, he had 12 tackles, but just from a leadership standpoint. He was hyped. He was in it. If you watched the game, if you saw the highlights, he was jumping up and down. He was into it even when RG3 was on the field. So this was just, like I said, this into the moment. The 12th man, Washington's crowd was crazy. It was a crazy atmosphere. But like I said, Washington earned it fair and square. Like I said, my New York Giants, that's the biggest thing y'all need to work on, is that execution. Like I said, that's one of the biggest things. Other than, besides, you never know which, Giants team you're going to get. Because, like I said, Bradshaw played well. But, we all know Bradshaw's capable of getting 100 yards a game. You just never know which Bradshaw you're going to get. You never know what Hicks you're going to get. Sometimes you don't know what Bennett you're going to get. Talking about, Bennett for the New York Giants. It's just one of those stories. And even with Washington, one thing about RG3, like I said, I love him because he makes other players around him better. He's hard to contain, no question. But even his receivers, dropping passes. Garcon, Morgan, Young, catches that, could have made a bigger impact on this team. And like I said, one thing I love about RG3, like I say, he makes people around him better. And, for New York Giants, like I said, this is not an easy game. Any team's playing watch, this is not an easy game. Alfred Morris, anytime Alfred Morris gets going and RG3 is able to get going, and RG3 doesn't have a problem getting going. So I'm not even going to say if he's able to get going. When RG3 is going and Alfred Morris is going, this team is definitely a force to be reckoned with. They just really need, some other receivers to really step up. Like I said, if he can get some playmakers, same thing I say about Russell Wilson. The same thing I say about Andrew Luck. If these guys get some better playmakers around them, these guys, all three of these teams are going to be teams to be reckoned with. Obviously Washington still needs to make some, some changes on the defensive side of the ball, but, just offensively thinking about the possibilities. Like I said, RG3 is hard to contain because we know he can be a pocket passer. We know it. We've seen it. He has his arm strength. He has good enough accuracy. He has intelligence. He knows how to read defenses. And the scary thing is, if you pressure him, he's going to beat you with his feet. And he can beat you with his feet by just running the ball. He can beat you with his feet by buying time and still throwing the ball. So like I said, it's hard to contain him if you even can. Like I said, Giants did a pretty decent job, but like I said, keeping this offense as a whole at bay. I think they even caused a fumble on Morris at some point in the game. But it's a tough win by Washington. That's what you like to see. But like I said, we all know going into the playoffs, it's a clean slate. Let me say that. I may be getting on the Giants now, but we all know the Giants. How many times have Giants done this in a season? They play inconsistent, then the playoffs come and it's a totally different team. It's the same thing I said about the Steelers. Steelers, they struggling now without Roethlisberger, and Batches there right now. It's all these issues, and then just so happen they might just get into the wild card. Next thing you know, they're in the Super Bowl. That's just the way the NFL is. That's one of the things I think I do love most about the NFL. One thing I always say about the NBA, as much as I love the game of basketball, one thing I always say about the NBA, for the most part, is pretty predictable. At least for the last couple of years, it's been predictable from a standpoint if you always know who's going to be in the playoffs, who's going to be the one, who's going to be the 2-3 seed, that kind of stuff. And once the playoffs get going, you generally have a pretty good idea, unless you're a biased fan who always picks your team, which nothing wrong, being a fan. But unless you're that fan who always just picks your team to win, it's not that hard. Most people, as far as I know, picked the Heat to win last year. Not because, but either they picked them because they were Heat fans or because they actually believed they were going to win just because they figured they picked OKC to be in the championship, not the Lakers. So one thing I love about the NFL is it's so unpredictable. I didn't, if you had told me Green Bay was going to win a Super Bowl with all the injuries they had, I would have laughed. I would have like, no, they're not. If you had told me the Giants was going to win again last year, I might have laughed, but I might have believed you just because it seems like when Tom Coughlin's job is on the line, they just play so much better. But at the end of the day, like I said, that's one thing I love about the NFL. It's unpredictable. When I think I know who's going, or I think I know who's about to win the Super Bowl and who's going to win what, round, I'm always, like, for the most part, I'm still pretty accurate, but I still get surprised every once in a while. So like I said, at the end of the day, that's one thing I love about the NFL. It is unpredictable when it comes down to the Super Bowl, because we all know once you get in the Super Bowl, once you get in the playoffs, it's entirely clean slate. It's a clean slate. The Giants can turn it on. The Steelers can turn it on. A lot of these teams can turn it on and off. It's a totally different ball game. So just seeing how the Giants are going to play once playoffs come around, looking at that. And even Washington, they obviously have an opportunity as well, possibly getting the playoffs. So just watching that as well to see how both teams execute down the line, both offensively and defensively. But at the end of the day, great game. I definitely enjoyed the Manning versus Griffin battle. Like I said, it was not a disappointing Monday Night Football game. I said, you missed it, sorry, because you missed a good one. But it was definitely a good game to see. Like I said, maybe catch it online. I don't know. I did my best to fit it in. Moving on to some other NFL news. Braylon Edward, Seattle Seahawks wide receiver, had a little something to say. Yeah, he had a little something to say today on Twitter, around this morning, actually. And basically he said this. Don't blame Sanchez, referring to Mark Sanchez of the New York Jets. I played there. Blame the idiots calling the shots. Mark is a beast and will prove it when given a proper chance. That is once again what Braylon Edwards tweeted this morning on Twitter. Once again, I'll even read it again. Here it is. Don't blame Sanchez. I played there. Blame the idiots calling the shots. Mark is a beast and will prove it when given the proper chance. As far as Braylon Edwards goes, obviously I see where his standpoint of the idiots, so-called, is coming from, because from his point of view, former wide receiver of the Jets. So obviously, he had experience with that team and that coaching staff, Sanchez. So I guess I see where his viewpoints come from. And even, just from a point of what he's saying about Sanchez. I agree, it's not all Sanchez's fault. Just like I said about Philly, it wasn't all Vic's fault, or it wasn't all this guy's fault. It's a collaboration of different people's fault, from Rex Ryan to the rest of the coaching staff to Mark Sanchez to the inability inability of this running back core of the New York Jets, the inconsistent wide receivers who either can't get open or can't catch the ball. The decision making by the coach on who to start, who not to start. The injuries, the lack of depth. It's so many different things going on with this New York Jets team. Is sad. The only thing that they probably who's been consistent this year on their team is defense. And I mean, they haven't been great consistent like they locking teams down, but they've done a pretty good job of helping their team to stay in the ball game most. I mean, let's be real. That's halftime how the Jets stay in these games. It's because of that dang on defense. So that's probably about the only thing I can say, where it's been a consistency, a good, or at least a decent consistency level. But I get where he's coming from. Like I said, definitely with the first part. Is it all the Sanchez thing? No. But I also can't just say just because the idiots are calling shots, and stuff like that. Some of that stuff is still just a Sanchez just not throwing two passes, like I said on my show the other day. I think Sanchez is leading the NFL with games with 2+ turnovers. He leads with 8. I mean, some of this is still just Sanchez not playing smart, playing inconsistent, not executing. Like I said, the play calling. And like I said, I get where it's coming from for a certain point. Like I said, there is no running game, or is an inconsistent running game. So you become one-dimensional, which one thing I always say, when you become one-dimensional, your job gets a lot harder, especially at the quarterback position. Offensive line is not the best. Wide receivers aren't getting open. When they are open and you throw them a good pass, they don't catch it. So I get your point. Now, is he a beast? That's a point of view. I don't think Mark Sanchez is a beast. He hasn't showed me anything yet to make me think that he's a beast. Even in college, I didn't think Mark Sanchez was a beast. I thought he was a good quarterback who, showed some good moments of intelligence and, diligence and athleticism. But did I think he was a beast? Did I think he was elite? No, I didn't. Even when he went to the Jets and he played well, I was like, yeah, okay, he's playing well. But as we also know, early in his career, when he had good pieces at receiver, at running back, pretty decent offensive line, with a pretty good, decent defense. That was still one thing with Sanchez. He was always inconsistent. Like I said, ever since he got in the NFL, it's been one of his key problems. It's just inconsistent. He either starts the season off well and towards the end he falls off and he struggles in the playoffs, or vice versa. He starts off the season bad, then in the middle season and late in the season he starts doing good, but then they get in the playoffs and he struggles. It's always been the same thing, which is one of the reasons why they could never go as far as they wanted a couple years ago with the Jets when they had so-called the squad that they needed to go to the Super Bowl. So, looking from a standpoint of that, like I said, is he a beast? Not in my opinion. That could change if he gives me a reason for it to change, but in my opinion, no. Mark Sanchez, I say he's a good quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback, and like I said, I think given the proper chance, yeah, he probably could be. Well, like I said, what's the proper chance? It's similar to what we said about Alex Smith. What's the proper chance? One of the reasons, like I said, as much as I'm not an Alex Smith fan, I'll say that again. I'm not an Alex Smith fan. Even I defended him in his San Francisco situation with Kaepernick, but that's a whole other situation. But one of the great things about Alex Smith that helped him was, just the situation he was in with Jim Harbaugh, with having one of the top offenses in the NFL. I mean, those things did help Alex become better. So that's why when people talk about when Alex leaving, or Alex leaving San Francisco, well, is he gonna be able to do the same things that he did in San Francisco? Because let's be real, a lot of the great success that he had a lot to do with Jim Harbaugh. Like I said, he did do a wonderful job of getting him going. And then, like I said, not only that, just that wonderful offense that he was, honored enough to have. Like I said, one of the, if not the best, one of the top running back cores in the NFL. And then obviously you have some elite receivers, good and elite receivers on that squad. So, that's the thing with going in with Sanchez. What's the proper chance? Obviously this Jets team, similar to the Philadelphia Eagles team in some ways, some changes are going to be made. Some people are going to be let go, coaches, players, but it's just going to be really interesting. If he does stay, what's the proper chance? What does he need to be successful? Does he just need receivers who can get him the ball? Is it the coaching situation? Is it really the coaching situation? Because obviously, he did fine at USC. So these are the questions that you have to start asking yourself when you start saying the proper chance. What's the proper chance for Sanchez? What does Sanchez need to be successful in your mind? That's, one of the things I'm looking at. Like I said, I agree partly with Braylon saying it is not a whole blame Sanchez ordeal. It's a blame the New York Jets as a whole deal. I'm not going to put that on Sanchez like it's only him. I'm just not going to do that. I don't even like Sanchez, but I'm not going to do that. Like I said, it is the coaching. It is the inconsistent running game, the inconsistent receivers, whether it's running routes, whether it's catching the ball. It is the lack of an offensive line at times, the decision making, the play calling. Yeah, it is. But at the same time, it's still partly Sanchez, because still some of that stuff is just Sanchez not throwing a good pass, not making a smart play, not reading the defense, just pouting for no dang on reason. So at the end of the day, I get Braylon's point. Braylon personally, I think Braylon. There's always going to be a little special place for you here, in my heart, always, Braylon. Because, you're a Michigan Wolverine, did great things here, then you got in the NFL and something went terribly wrong. But at the end of the day, I get what Braylon's saying to a certain extent. Do I agree with everything he's saying? No. But I get what he's saying. Personally, Braylon, I think, quit tweeting about other people and focus on your own career and your own team and help them get to where they need to be personally. But other than that, like I said, I get partly what he's saying. The other part of it, I don't agree with. Like I said, if you want to check out the tweet, go on ESPN.com, look it up on Google, look it up on Twitter, you'll find it. Or just go to Braylon Edward's Twitter because I don't think he deleted it yet. So you can always go there too. So I just wanted to talk about that real briefly. Also, in the world of football, this is not the NFL, this is college football. One of the great awards known to man, the Heisman Trophy. Plenty of great players have won it over the years, so many I can't even count. But at the end of the day, we're in the year of 2012, and now we have 3 finalists for this year's Heisman Trophy Award. Those 3 are Texas A&M freshman quarterback Johnny Manziel, as some people like to refer to him, Johnny Football, Notre Dame senior linebacker Matthew Teo, and Kansas State senior quarterback Colin Klein, or Clean. Everybody pronounces it so differently nowadays. But those are the 3 finalists for the Heisman Trophy this year. Now, me personally, I was a little shocked that Kansas State quarterback got in here. Not shocked, but I was really shocked Lynch of Northern Illinois didn't get in with everything that he's been able to do for this team, especially considering their bowl game that they have coming up. I was pretty shocked that he didn't get in. I was also a little shocked that Marquise Lee didn't get in as well. From USC. Both of those guys have had some great seasons. Both of them have great seasons, and I'm really kind of shocked they didn't get in. But unless these are the 3 finalists they picked, I don't have anything against Kansas State quarterback, but compared to Teo and Manziel, I'm gonna be real with you. I don't think I don't really think it's that big of a comparison. I mean, quite frankly, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm going for Johnny or Teo at this point. For me, like I said, obviously, for Johnny, it's he's basically attempting to become the first freshman in history to win the Heisman. And he, very deserving. When Texas A&M joined the SEC, I didn't think that they were gonna just suck, but I didn't think that they were gonna be the team that they were in the SEC, and a lot of it had to do with Johnny. I mean, let's be real. The way he's been able, and as a freshman, he showed us poise. He showed us athleticism. He showed us arm strength. He showed us accuracy. He's just shown us a leader. And I see that as a freshman. Not only that, just a humble, hardworking kid from what I can see. Even, looking back, I did take a look at some of his old high school film. Even back then, looking at a lot of these things, just crazy looking at Johnny. So, I would love to see him win it, but I can't deny what Teo has done either. Teo has been crazy this season. His impact not just even from a defensive standpoint of making the tackles, making the interceptions, making the right read, but just a leadership standpoint and a humbling standpoint. This guy's gone through a lot off the field, and he's overcome it. He's helped this Notre Dame team to be one of the top defensive teams in the country. He helped his team to get to a national championship and to an undefeated season. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and lie. This is a pure defender right here, and I would love to see him get it. Like I said, he showed us, a humble personality on and off the field. He showed us a lot of diligence. He's faced a lot of adversity, and I would love to see him get it. Like I said, it's his senior year. He has a lot to do with this Notre Dame team being so successful, especially on the defensive end. So I definitely would love to see one of those two guys win it. Personally, that's in my pick. And like I said, just to mention Kansas State quarterback, nothing against him. He's had a pretty good season as well. I'm not gonna disrespect him and say he doesn't deserve to be in there, because obviously, like I said, Kansas State, was one of the top 25 teams, top 10 teams in college football this year. So I'm not gonna disrespect what he's done. But in my opinion, compared to what Teo and Johnny have done this season for their teams, respectively, I gotta give it to one of them. Like I said, personally, I wouldn't mind seeing Teo win it, just because, like I said, for Notre Dame, the team that they've been this year, like I said, especially on the defensive side of the ball, which is where they've won a lot of their games, and possibly could even win the national championship off of it. I would love to see him get it, but I also wouldn't have a problem with the freshman quarterback getting it as well from Texas A&M, Johnny Football, as most people like to call him, because both of these guys have done so many great things. But it's hard to skip out on Teo when you see where Notre Dame is. National championship, like I said, barely letting any team score. Had a pretty good tough schedule. I mean, very deserving to Teo, but at the same time, very deserving to Johnny. And like I said, not deserving to Kansas State quarterback, just, in my opinion, like I said, compared to those other two guys, it should go to those two. One of those two, for sure. Like I said, either Johnny or Teo in my book. Just wanted to discuss that real briefly. But like I said, also big shout out to anybody else who had a big season, especially, like I said, Lynch and Lee of USC, Lynch of Northern Illinois. Most of these guys had successful seasons. Unfortunately, they couldn't get a bid to be as one of the finalists, but at the end of the day, those guys had great seasons, and I look forward to seeing, what they do with the rest of their career. So I wanted to bring that up. Also, on other news, a little bit of NBA news. Pretty much it's been rumored, and sources have been reporting it and everything like that Derrick Rose might actually be able to start practicing in a few weeks. And of course, this has a lot of people excited, whether you're a Bulls fan, whether you're a Rose fan, whether you don't like either one of them. Just the fact that this guy who's explosive and exciting could be back on the court soon. As far as his time to get back on the court, that has not necessarily been distinguished. All we know is he's possibly, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, he's going to be back on the court. That's been the talk. So, I don't want to give people, he's going to be back on the court. We don't know. It would be great to see him back on the court, but like I said, as somebody who tore my ACL, tore my meniscus, all in the same knee, you do not want to rush this process. If you rush it, plenty of players are tearing their ACLs left and right. Ryan Broyles of the Detroit Lions tore his ACL in college. He just tore his other one this previous Sunday against the Colts. Maryland girls basketball team, 3 of their girls tore their ACLs within 5 days of each other. These ACLs, I know girls and guys and players who have torn their ACLs and then retorn them. This is not something you want to rush back. And when you're an explosive player like Derrick Rose, you definitely don't want to rush back. Now, hopefully, the big thing with Rose is just going to be, like I said, taking his time. And I heard he's been doing some light cutting, some light sprints. So that's good to see. And like I said, I hope he is back in 2 weeks. Like I said, I would love to see him back on the court, but I don't want to see him so bad on the court that he re-injures himself. Like I said, he's a humble guy. hopefully he makes the right to, come back when he's ready along with the rest of the team. But like I said, I'm rooting for him. No question for this guy. Like, I love Derrick Rose, loved him in high school, loved him in college, in the NBA. So definitely want to see this kid, get back on the floor. And like I said, from what I've heard, Joakim Noah said, he looked really good. I know he said some people actually he looked great. Actually, they said he was working in the gym, so they've been seeing him work in the gym. We all know Derrick Rose is a workhorse, not a man of many words per se. He gets out there, lets the game does the talking. Similar to myself, but it's great to see him, like I said, hear this great news that he might be back. Like I said, we don't necessarily know if he's going to be back on the court before the new year, after the new year, but we at least know he's going to at least start practicing hopefully in the next couple of weeks. So, maybe February, maybe late January, like I said, but whenever he comes back, hopefully it's at full speed, and like I said, let's just see what he's able to do. Like I said, one thing I noticed when I tore my ACL, I was a slasher. Of course, I didn't have Derrick Rose hops and athletic ability, but I was a slasher, and one of the main things when you tear your ACL sometimes is your ability to cut, and sometimes you're forced to change your game a little bit. So maybe we'll see an improved jump shot, maybe more of a creator as well, because sometimes you become more of a little bit of a conscious creator as well. So just seeing what he comes back like. But like I said, definitely eager to see him get back on the practice court, and definitely eager to see him get back on that hard floor in an NBA game and compete with the best of the best and show him what he's made of. But like I said, at the end of the day, just hoping he takes the time, come back when you're ready. But yeah, definitely happy. Definitely happy to hear him. It's like I said, it's definitely good to hear, that he could possibly be back in practice. So like I said, it's been rumored, sources have been saying, it's been reported by some that he's gonna be back on the court, in a couple of weeks as far as a practicing standpoint. It's good to hear, but like I said, I don't want him to rush it. I don't think anybody who has that boy's best interest in hand wants him to rush it. So we'll see what happens, and I'm gonna leave it at that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's show. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree, if you disagree with anything that I said. If there's a topic you want me to discuss that I did not get a chance to discuss, it doesn't matter what it is, NBA, NFL, college football, college basketball, whatever it is, name it. It could be about a coach, player, a team. Be sure to let me know. I'm always happy to honor my fan requests. If you want me to be a guest on your show, let me know. I've been getting requests left and right. Hey, be a guest on my show. Hey, I would love to have you on my show. I love to be on other people's shows. Always love to network and whatnot. So be sure to let me know if you want to be a guest on your show. You can also go to my website, LaurenBeasley.com, and see a couple of those shows and listen to a couple of those shows. I always try to get the episode that I was on and put it on my website so a lot of my fans, supporters can go back and listen to see what I had to say. You hear what I have to say here, but I pretty much say the same thing. But, just hear what I had to say from another viewpoint and, and also broaden your horizons to a different audience as well. So be sure to go on my website, LaurenBeasley.com, check out some of my articles, check out other episodes, check out the guest spots that I've been on. Be sure to do that. So go to LaurenBeasley.com. Also, check out MoneyballSportswear.com. They're a huge supporter of me and my show, Sports Talk with L-Beasley. So go check out MoneyballSportswear.com. You're going to love their clothes, hats, shorts, gear. Hey, if you're a team, you need some jerseys. I know basketball season already started, but you never know. Hey, man, maybe you're trying to get some more jerseys. Maybe just trying to look cool. I don't know. Go to MoneyballSportswear.com. You're going to love their gear. The only way to ball is Moneyball. Once again, thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. Keep the fan comments coming. Constructive criticism, all that jazz. I always love to interact with my fans, so be sure to do that. And I will see you guys tomorrow.